can skip this slide because you don't have any clutter, right? Quite often the condition of our home and belongings is an indicator of where our life is at the moment. I don't hold as much stock in this Feng Shui belief. Once upon a time, it would have been very dangerous to have your back to the door or the window, as you could be under attack at any time. Typically, that is not the case in our own homes. Yet I do find, and always did even as a child, when out in public, I will not sit in a restaurant with my back facing the open room. I must be able to see. Interesting. Toilet seats need to be down, as we don't want the energy from our homes being flushed down the toilet. This is especially important in homes that have an ensuite bathroom. You don't want your lovely bedroom energy to be going down the tubes. The premise behind this is that the mirror would reflect your low ebb sleeping energy back at you, compounding it. We don't really need that to happen. And if you find you wake up in the morning and you're quite tired all the time for no reason, this may be your case. If it is impossible to move the mirror anywhere because it may be connected to your dresser or whatever, when you go to bed at night, you can just drape a shawl or scarf or something of that nature across the mirror, just enough to stop the reflection. This one is getting more and more difficult to avoid, as we all have wireless devices in our homes, and at any given time there's all kinds of transmissions coming out of the microwave towers or the cell phone towers. We can only do the best that we can to keep our atmosphere as pure as possible. Definitely in the bedroom, make sure that your clock on the bedside table is as far away as possible. Don't put your cell phones and other devices on your bedside table or your headboard plugged in at night time. And definitely don't use an electric blanket. If you insist on having one because you're cold, then just use that to heat your bed up and make sure it's unplugged. Not just turned off, but unplugged before you go to bed. The concept of symbolism is very misunderstood by many within Feng Shui. It is not symbolic unless it means something to you. And of course, it can have different connotations for different people. A typical Feng Shui cure that is often used is a green Buddha in the front hall. That means absolutely nothing to me, and therefore, in my viewpoint, would just be clutter in my hall because it serves no purpose and has no meaning to me. Many will say that dried flowers should never be used. I believe that a dried flower, at least once upon a time, was a real flower and does carry the energy of it with it, whereas plastic or synthetic plants are petrochemicals. I definitely won't use those. Also, there may be times where the dry energy of the dried flower arrangements would be beneficial. In my home, I very often have groups of people in with some very lively conversations and energetic techniques being performed. The dried flowers help to keep that energy in check. Otherwise, who knows where we may have spiraled to by now. Cactus is generally not used as the spines act as poison arrows. I did have prickly pear cactus outside the front door of my last home. To me, it was symbolic of a wonderful trip to Sedona, Arizona, where they grew all over the place outside their rental bungalow. I viewed it as protection for my home. It certainly didn't keep any of my friends or invited guests out, but would serve as a deterrent for anyone coming up to the door that may not be welcome. So in a nutshell, if it feels good, do it. If it doesn't feel good, then don't. We'll have much more on intuition in a later lesson.